So picture this. You're just going about your day, and you pop into the bank. A totally normal errand. Maybe you're pulling out cash for a big purchase. You get back in your car, you drive home, maybe you go inside to grab some lunch. But what you have no idea about is that your completely normal day is about to get very, very expensive. This is exactly what happened to a man named Ralpho. As he was running his errands, completely oblivious, he'd already been picked out of the crowd. A whole team of criminals was already watching his every single move.
That's how much cash was at stake. $3,500. Ralpho had just pulled it from his Chase bank account for a really simple reason. He was buying his brother's car. Just a normal family transaction.
And just like that, it was all gone. And we're not talking about a robbery in some dark alley at night. Nope. This happened right in front of his own home in the middle of the day. So how on earth did this happen? Well, let's get into it.
It all kicked off with what felt like the most routine trip to the bank imaginable on February 25th. Let's walk through the exact sequence of events that turned this normal day into a total financial nightmare.
Okay, so Ralpho walks out of the bank holding that classic white bank envelope. He tucks it into his duffel bag, for safekeeping. Then he gets in his truck and he just drives home. He has absolutely no clue that a white Jeep Cherokee is already on his tail, following him the entire way.
And just notice the patience here, the calculation. Ralpho goes inside for just a few minutes, leaving that bag in his truck. Now, the criminals, they don't rush it. They actually circle his house, waiting for that perfect moment. Then, bam, one person jumps out, opens the unlocked truck door, snags the bag, and they are gone in seconds. And get this, they didn't just take the cash. They also got his work phone, his checkbooks, and other important documents.
This obviously wasn't some random smash and grab. This was planned out, it was targeted. Which really makes you wonder, what exactly do you call a crime like this?
Well, investigators actually have a name for it. They call it bank jugging. And while you've probably never heard that term before, I promise you it is happening in cities all across the country.
So at its core, this is a crime of surveillance and pure opportunity. The criminals literally judge people at the bank to find their best target. They watch, they follow, and then they just wait for you to make one tiny mistake. They're basically exploiting our sense of routine, that feeling of safety we all have when we're just running errands or pulling into our own driveway.
And this isn't just guesswork on their part. These criminals have a system. They have a playbook. So let's break down their 4-phase attack plan.
It is a pretty methodical process. First, they pick their target, and they do it based on really simple visual cues, like seeing you walk away from the counter with a bank envelope. Then, they follow you, but discreetly. They stay far enough back so you don't get suspicious. Now, this third step is the key. They wait. They prey on those moments when we're on autopilot, right? Following you to work, to the grocery store, or right to your home, just waiting for you to let your guard down. And finally, the quick strike, and then they just disappear.
And this just goes to show we are often talking about organized crews, not just some lone wolf. You've got a spotter who's inside the bank, maybe pretending to be on their phone, but actually watching for big withdrawals. Then there's the watcher out in the parking lot, who figures out which car is yours. And finally, the follow car is just waiting to tail you the second you pull out. It's a really coordinated, nasty little operation.
Okay, so that's the threat. Knowing their playbook is the first step. The next is building your own. So how do you protect yourself from this? And listen, this isn't about being paranoid. It's about being prepared. So here is your 5-step defense plan.
Prevention really starts before you even get in your car. First up, be discreet. Don't walk around advertising you're carrying cash by holding that obvious white envelope. Tuck it away inside another bag or your purse before you leave the counter. Next, before you even walk to your car, just pause for a second. Scan the parking lot. Does anyone look like they're just sitting in their car, watching? You gotta trust your gut.
Okay, now you're on the road. If you get that feeling that something is off, test it. Make a few turns you wouldn't normally make. If that same car is still behind you, that is a huge red flag. And whatever you do, do not lead them to your home. Your best move is to drive to a safe, public, and well-lit place, like a police station or even a busy supermarket.
All right, this might be the most important step of all. Never, ever, ever leave cash unattended in your car. Not for 30 seconds. That is all they need. If you are withdrawing a lot of money, bring a friend with you. Or hey, you can even ask the bank for an escort to your car. A lot of them are happy to do it. And honestly, for those big purchases, think about skipping the cash entirely. Use a cashier's check or wire transfer instead.
Now, hopefully, you will never, ever need this information.
But if the absolute worst happens and you do become a victim, here's what you need to do.
The very first and most critical thing to do is call 911 right away. Time is absolutely of the essence. Next, call your bank. If they got your checks or debit cards, you have to get those accounts frozen immediately to stop any more damage. And finally, you've got to keep a close eye on your accounts and credit reports, because if they got your personal documents, identity theft is a very real danger.
So when it's all said and done, what this really comes down to is simple awareness. The people who commit bank jugging are counting on you to be distracted. They're counting on you to not be paying attention. Your vigilance, that's the one thing they just can't plan for.
It's a pretty sobering thought, isn't it? But it's an important one to keep in your mind. Just being aware that this threat exists is the first and honestly the most powerful step in making sure it never ever happens to you. Stay safe out there.